Hey folks, I wanted to demonstrate something to you guys regarding the use of artificial intelligence in trying to get answers to math problems. I am curious about this. I was wondering how good ChatGPT would do at answering some of the questions we have to answer. And I found this problem number 18, and I thought it was kind of an interesting question because it doesn't ask for a specific calculation. It's just asking what weight would you consider to be unusually low. So I'm kind of curious to see. I was curious to see how ChatGPT would deal with this. So I copied the text from the online textbook, and I already went through and I tried asking ChatGPT the question, but the result was so interesting, I want to share it with you. So what I did is I pasted in the question, and I did edit it a little bit, and I think that's reasonable. Like I got rid of the small steer part. And I would say in general, you may have to clean up the question a little bit so that it's more clear what you want to know. But anyways, here's the question that I pasted in, and then I went ahead and I hit send, and I let ChatGPT begin to type out an answer. The first time it went for it, it actually came up with some kind of network error, so I clicked on regenerate response. And then I want you to see this next part. It's kind of interesting. It started to answer my question about which, if you have a normal distribution with the mean of 1152 and a standard deviation of 84, what weight would you consider to be unusual for a steer? Steer, I believe, is a cow. So if the cows averaged 1,152 pounds and they had a standard deviation of 84, what weight would you consider to be unusually low? So let's take a look. So it came back, and at first it said, using this rule, okay. They talk about the 68, 95, 99.7 rule. And then they say, using this rule, we can calculate a range of weights. And what they say is if we subtract 84, I see. If we subtract 84 from 1152 and we add 84 to 1152, we get these numbers, 1068 and 1236. Then they go on to say any weight below 1068 would be considered unusually low for a yearling Angus, as it would be more than one standard deviation below the mean. Well, first of all, I love the language that they're using. That's great. I mean, if you, one of my students, spoke like this when trying to answer a problem, I'd be very proud of you. Now, they go on and they say another approach is to use z-scores. So this is great. So first they start with the empirical rule, and then they decide to use z-scores, which they could use a calculator or a z-table for that. So they then say, which allow us to measure a number of standard deviations that an observation is away from the mean. A weight that is more than 2 standard deviations below the mean would be considered unusual or low. Well, I thought this was a little bit odd. And then they actually did the calculations, and they said, therefore, any weight below 984 pounds would be considered unusually low. Well, if I was you and I was using this tool, I would be a little bit confused because up here it says any weight below 1068 and anything that is below more than one standard deviation below the mean, they say that would be unusually low. And then they go on to say anything that is 2 standard deviations, a weight that is more than 2 standard deviations below the mean would be considered unusual or low. So which is it? So I decided to try something. I just had this conversation with a buddy over the weekend who actually is using ChatGPT to solve problems as a professional software developer. He writes code for a living. And he was telling me that he's been using ChatGPT every single day, all day long, to help him, not just in writing code, but in developing the specifications for systems that he's supposed to design. So anyways, so with that idea in mind, I thought, oh, he was telling me what he'll do is he'll start with a question and ChatGPT will spit back a result, but it won't always be perfect. Sometimes it'll be outright wrong. But the thing is, you can have an ongoing conversation with ChatGPT. And that was the thing that I didn't realize and I thought was kind of cool. So what I did was I decided to, I guess I regenerated the question and it came back and did it again. And then, here we go. Finally, I decided, hey, I'm going to tell ChatGPT, you gave me 2 answers. Why? And then ask, why did you do that? And I love the fact that I didn't have to say a whole lot, you know. I kept my language down to a minimum. So let's see how ChatGPT responded. So they come back and they say, I apologize for the confusion. Artificial intelligence is pretty dang polite. Now they say the correct answer is 984 pounds. So that's kind of interesting. And then they sort of, then they go through the calculation again and they say, therefore, any weight below 984 pounds would be considered unusually low. Again, they say because we're using 2 standard deviations below the mean. Okay. Well, if I was you, I would think that's not sufficient for me to understand why 984 is the better answer. So I decided to probe more deeply. So let's take a look and see my next question. I asked, why did you set z equal to -2? Let's take a look. So setting z equal to -2 allows us to find the weight that is more than 2 standard deviations below the mean. Okay, fair enough. Recall that a z-score is da-da-da-da-da. In this case, we know that da-da-da-da-da. By setting z equals -2 and solving for x, we can find the weight that corresponds to this z-score. Okay, that's great, but they still didn't explain to me I still don't totally understand. So I ask another question. I say, but why is 2 standard deviations below the mean considered unusually low? And finally, I feel like ChatGPT really resolved all my concerns about this problem. 2 standard deviations below the mean is considered unusually low because it's a rare event. Why is that, ChatGPT? Well, they go on. In a normal distribution, approximately 95% of the observations lie within 2 standard deviations of the mean. That means only about 2.5% fall below 2 standard deviations below the mean. When we say that a weight is unusually low, we mean that it is unlikely to occur by chance alone. In other words, the probability of observing a weight that is more than 2 standard deviations below the mean is less than 2.5% under the assumption that the weights follow a normal distribution. Therefore, any weight that falls below 2 standard deviations below the mean is considered unusually low because it's a rare event that's unlikely to occur by chance alone. People, I have to tell you this. If you were ever asked to answer a statistical question about normal distributions and you answered the question using this kind of language, I would be so proud of you. I have to say, ChatGPT did a great job. Now, why am I telling you this story? It's not because I want you to go and get the answer to all your questions using artificial intelligence. The goal in school is not to learn how to cheat. Okay, the goal in school is not to learn how to just get the answers. The goal in school is to learn how to understand and how to be able to figure out new and different problems that you've never seen before. And my feeling is this: when you're in the learning process, whatever you do that can help you to better understand the material you're trying to learn, you use it, whether it's talking to your friend or whether it's getting help from a teacher or a parent or going on the internet and Googling around, or now asking an artificial intelligence engine some questions. Whatever it is that you require in order to better understand why the answer to a problem is what it is, you should be doing that. Now, Of course, this is not always easy to do. You know, if somebody gives you 40 problems to solve, then it's difficult to make the time to really understand every problem deeply. But my goal is that you and I are going to look at individual problems together, and hopefully we'll look at so few problems at any given time that you will have time to go home, or maybe in class, but certainly at home it would be great if you could try to put a problem into ChatGPT and then see if you can ask some really good questions. Now, part of the secret to getting artificial intelligence to work properly is to be able to ask really good questions. There's an old saying in working with computers: garbage in equals garbage out. So simply typing a problem into ChatGPT may not be the best way to get an answer to a problem. You may have to refine your initial question with additional questions. Maybe it might even accept additional information. I'm probably going to play with this a little bit more, but because I had such an interesting experience with this one problem, I really wanted to share the whole experience with you from the beginning to the end. So anyways, again, I'm not encouraging you to use ChatGPT to get answers to all your problems, but could it help you to better understand when you don't understand? Yeah, I think it could. I also would say this. You can email me, you could always ask me a question, and I would be happy to try to explain as best I could. Anyways, I hope that this is of some value to you.